It takes a lot to grow your business, everybody. A lot of audience attracting, a lot of lead scoring, and all the channel managing you can manage. Plus a lot of long days, late nights, and weekends. We all know that. A lot wishing there was an easier way. But with Breeze, HubSpot's new collection of AI tools, it's easier than ever for marketers to attract audiences, increase leads, and score customers super fast. Which means pretty soon your company will have a lot to celebrate. So get to celebrating. Visit HubSpot.com/marketers to learn more. All right, good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, January 16th. I'm John Weigell here with Juliet, Bennett, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. You know, I've complained so many times about businesses like Target, CVS, and Walgreens locking up select items in stores. And finally, this frustrating anti-theft measure is affecting company bottom lines. People have spoken with their wallets, and these companies need a solution fast. So how are they going to pivot and when? We'll get to that in a bit, but first, let's give you the news in business and tech. To start us off here, Coors Light is getting a new name just for now, temporarily. The beer brand announced a temporary name change to Monday's Light, complete with new packaging, TV and print ads, and a billboard in Times Square. This being a nod to the first Monday after the end of the football season, 12 packs with the new name will be available at retailers around the country for a limited time. Meanwhile, retail beer sales in total were down 0.6% to $45.6 billion in 2024, and overall Coors Light sales fell 2% last year to $2.7 billion. So looks like they're trying to save some face with this one. Next, over to Hinge. Hinge just came out with a handy and kind of judgy new AI feature. It's called Prompt Feedback, and it does exactly what it says. Comments on your answers to Hinge profile prompts. It's powered by OpenAI's ChatGPT 4o Mini and lets you know if your answers are, well, a little too basic. All this as parent company Match Group invested $20 to $30 million in AI, so expect more rollouts with the Match Group properties. In more social media news, PixelFed, a decentralized photo sharing platform that launched in 2018, is getting a lot of interest lately following a host of changes Meta announced in how it moderates content on its suite of apps. PixelFed is open source and community funded and is part of the Fediverse, a la Mastodon. Curiously, however, 404 Media found that Meta may be blocking links to PixelFed on its platforms. That's interesting. Juliet, what do you make of this?
I think it's an interesting place we're at with social media, where we've got our legacy giants, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, which of course is now known as X, sort of hemorrhaging users as their billionaire CEOs start putting more restrictions and weight on the platforms. I mean, we just saw this happen with X. Everybody's like, I don't want to be on X anymore. I don't like what Elon Musk is doing with X. I'm going to go over to Blue Sky, or I'm going to go over to Threads. Threads, of course, owned by Meta. And now, Zuckerberg's kind of having a weird time in the media right now. And now everybody's saying, okay, well, I'm done with Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to go over here to PixelFed. I'm going to start a Discord. It's just kind of a weird time where people are sort of, the floor is lava-ing with social media. And we're even seeing that, of course, with TikTok, which is facing a ban. And we've got people signing up for accounts on RedNote, which is a Chinese app that most of them can't even understand because it is in Chinese. And a lot of these users are Americans who don't speak Chinese. And it just kind of leaves one to wonder, what's the next big thing? Where are people going? Is it finally time for the Fediverse that we've been hearing about for so long?
Yeah.
Or are we going to go back to Friendster? I don't know. It's just an interesting time.
Yeah.
I do think the push will be kind of away from a platform where one person can dictate a lot of things and change the tides of a lot of things at one time. So maybe some of these community-funded, nonprofit, lots of users, Wikipedia-esque type platforms are the way to go. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that's been happening lately. A story just came out about Free Our Feeds on Business Insider, and they're kind of creating also a open source independent infrastructure for social media. They power Blue Sky right now. So yeah, it seems like a lot of companies are coming out of the woodwork here to kind of maybe democratize the web a little more away from billionaires. So I mean, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Next up, over to the airlines. Delta Airlines is tightening its grip on airport lounge access. So customers with the right premium American Express card will still have access to their 52 Delta Sky Clubs, but now they have an annual limit of 10 or 15 visits. Other companies like Capital One and United Airlines are also, if not already, rolling out more restrictions like this. And finally, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is now suing Elon Musk for failing to disclose his Twitter stock ownership in 2022 before buying the company. The SEC alleges Musk underpaid by at least $150 million as a result of his prior stock ownership. Tisk, tisk.
Hey, everybody. I've been listening to this awesome podcast lately. It's called Nudge, hosted by Phil Agnew. It's brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. So have you ever noticed how the smallest changes can have the biggest impact? On Nudge, you learn simple, evidence-based tips to help you kick bad habits, get that raise, and grow a business. Every bite-sized 20-minute show comes packed with practical advice from admired entrepreneurs and behavioral scientists alike. And Nudge is fast-paced, but still insightful with real-world examples that you can actually apply. Oh, and by the way, it's the UK's fastest-growing business podcast. I was listening to an episode recently that Phil, the host, had on Harvard professor Mike Norton, and Mike convinced Phil that he had to handwrite every single one of his emails before sending them to understand what he was really trying to talk about. This process, although it sounds insane, he claims, Phil, that it made his emails 3.5 times better. You got to listen to this podcast. It's a great way to understand how email marketing can help your business. You can listen to Nudge wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, on to the main story today. The lockers in your local Walgreens or CVS can be very frustrating, I know firsthand. With the long attendant wait times, it looks like many have just kind of decided to order it online. I mean, Amazon might even get it to me before the item gets out of the locker. So Juliet, it looks like Walgreens in particular has talked about this problem and is developing some kind of solution, maybe?
Yeah, I wish I could tell you what the solution was, but all we know is it's going to be quote unquote creative. Basically, Walgreens had a quarterly earnings call. If you want to know all about Walgreens earnings, great, you can go look at it. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about something that affects each and every one of us, which is stores locking up everything from toothpaste to deodorant to shampoo.
Yep.
In this call, Walgreens CEO Tim Wentworth revealed that when you lock things up, for example, you don't sell as many of them. We've kind of proven that conclusively. Hate to say I told you so, but I think all of us can say, I told you so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know a single person, and if you're one of those people, please DM me. Tell me how you live your life. I don't know a single person who has not been to a Target, Walgreens, CVS, whatever, gotten so frustrated that everything they need to buy is in a locked case that they're like, well, screw it. For me, I would always go to grocery outlet instead, or I would just subscribe to things. Like I'm subscribed to my pet food. I'm subscribed to my kitty litter. I'm subscribed to my favorite moisturizer because I can't get it at Target.
Right.
So yeah, that's what we've learned is when you put things in cases to make them harder to buy, people do not buy them. They seek out alternatives.
Totally. I would much rather go to the store and pick something up instead of ordering it online, but it seems like a difficult thing to do at this point in time, especially at least in the Target that's local to me. They have all the cases and whatnot, but they have those buttons that you're supposed to put your hand under. They make a beep noise. They don't work.
No, they don't.
So you just kind of have to go rogue and find an employee somewhere with a key, and they have to come open the case for you. Usually it's not the guy. The guy's like, I don't know, like, check this guy. And it's a whole goose chase just so I can get like some Colgate toothpaste. So it's crazy.
Exactly.
The reason this happened was back in 2020 and 2021, there was kind of a bit of a rise in shoplifting, right?
We think, maybe, I don't know. Who knows at this point? Because yes, Walgreens reported a 52% rise in shrink, which is lost inventory. And then I believe it was their CEO said maybe we cried too much about it, indicating that maybe it wasn't as big of a problem as once speculated. There are all of these articles. It's like, hey, this is actually really hard to quantify in terms of who's doing the shoplifting, who's doing the stealing. Maybe nobody. It could be organized crime, or it could be larceny where somebody steals something with the intent to resell it on the black market. It could be somebody who legitimately just needs toothpaste and cannot afford it. It can also be employees stealing things. It can be food on the shelves that has spoiled and needs to be thrown out. So it's just really hard to actually quantify what's really going on here. And at the same time, I think our cities, especially our major cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, have been very politicized, where people are trying to say that these are lawless apocalyptic cities and everybody's stealing everything and everything is locked up and everything's on fire, which I guess is true right now about Los Angeles, where I live. But what is the real picture here? And there's not a lot of data to support it. And there are actually some reports indicating that this isn't as big of a problem as retailers have made it out to be. And who's caught in limbo? It's the actual consumer. It is the average person who's going to walk in, buy a tube of toothpaste and a box of cereal and walk out. And I think more broadly, when we think about what especially America looks like right now, that's kind of everything. Like if you've noticed, there are a lot of places like benches and curbs and whatever that are intentionally designed so that you cannot sit down.
Yeah.
And it's inconvenient for you because they want to make it inconvenient for an unhoused person that they don't want to sit there. Have you ever wanted to pee and you're like, great, I'll just go to Starbucks? No more. You got to buy something.
Yeah, no, there's some crackdowns. And I think this was really the beginning of that like social crackdown. I mean, this came a few years ago, and they also, from some select locations, eliminated self-checkout as well. So there's like a hyper-policing going on in these stores that maybe didn't need to happen. And it definitely turned away shoppers.
Right.
You said in your story that like 20% of shoppers will abandon a purchase if they come upon a lock. And that's bad. It's really bad for the retailers that are trying to also stay alive in the midst of online shopping being a thing. So what do? You got to try to stop people from stealing things, but you also have to stay in business. So what's the solution?
Right. Well, I'm really curious to know what these creative solutions are that the Walgreens CEO has. Some other solutions that stores are using include more cameras, more security, like a dedicated security guard, better employee training, employee cameras, partnerships with local law enforcement. You know, I think at the end of the day, it would be great to understand who is doing this shoplifting and why, and what can we do to mitigate the shoplifting even before somebody gets in the store. Is there really a ring of people that steal toothpaste and then resell it on the black market? Because I imagine the margins are thin. This is not a gun. Like, these are not drugs. It is toothpaste. Or is it people who simply do not have toiletries and this is the only way that we can get them? In that case, is there some sort of nonprofit, some sort of community effort that can step in and say like, hey, is there a foundation? Is there a fund where we can make sure people have toothpaste if they need toothpaste? It just seems like squeezing the consumer and making it more inconvenient for the consumer is just going to lead to more online stuff and further enshittification of everything. So I would love to see these solutions. You know, some of them seem like they're not too inconvenient for the customer. Sure, maybe there's more limited entry access points. Maybe there's a security guard. That shouldn't bother you if you're not there to do anything weird. That's a job for somebody, you know.
Sure.
I once went to a store where I had to buy groceries and then I had to buy some sort of toiletry item like razor blades or something. And so I had a cart full of groceries, but all of the toiletry items were in like their own area with a gate.
Oh, no.
And anything that I wanted to buy in there, I had to buy separately. He couldn't ring up my groceries. So I had to buy the razor blades or whatever it was, get that receipt, leave that area, and then go back to the groceries.
Oh, that's annoying.
And it's like, I understand these kind of limitations when it's alcohol or cigarettes or something where there's an age restriction. I understand that, you know, stuff high security at the Apple store. I understand when you're at Target and you can't just walk off with a TV, for example, or a nice pair of headphones. But I think at a certain point, retailers are really going to have to find a way to feel safe with their more common everyday items, you know, these $10 under items, in a way that doesn't make the consumer feel like they're living in some sort of Orwellian hellscape just trying to get deodorant.
Yeah, I mean, they got to keep their customers somehow, and maybe trusting them is a decent start.
Right.
All right, and that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor is Robert Hartwig. Our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got much more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. Go subscribe at thehustle.co/email and follow us on Instagram at thehustledaily. We'll see you tomorrow.
New year, new resolutions. And this year on the Best Idea Yet podcast, we're revealing the untold origin stories of the products you're obsessed with. And we promise you have never heard these before.
Ever wonder how the iconic Reese's Peanut Butter Cup was invented? Because it was by accident. H.B. Reese, a former frog salesman,
true story,
stumbled upon the idea after accidentally burning a batch of peanuts.
Classic.
Proving that sometimes our best ideas arise from what seem like our biggest mistakes.
And Jack, did you know there's a scientific explanation why humans crave that surprising combo of peanut butter and chocolate?
I didn't, but it sounds delicious.
It is delicious.
So, if you're looking to get inspired and creative this year, tune in to the Best Idea Yet. You can find us on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts.
And if you're looking for more podcasts to help you start this year off right, check out New Year, New Mindset on the Wondery app. Who knows? Your next great idea could be an accident that you burned. This is Nick.
And this is Jack.
And we'll see ya on the best idea yet.